Hey, who's Batman to you? Like, when you think of Batman, who's Batman?
Are you kidding me?
Christian Bale?
Christian Bale.
Michael Keaton is Batman to me.
Where is he?
I'm Batman.
I'm counting on it.
No, I'm counting on it. I'm Batman.
Batman, Batman Begins, or The Batman? Which one is superior? I'll weigh the merits of each and share my conclusion next. Welcome to Galactic Initiative. I'm your host, Jeff. I rewatched the trio of Batman's inaugural films over the past month. Tim Burton's Batman from 1989, Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins from 2005, and Matt Reeves' The Batman from 2022. Which is the best? To answer that question, I assessed each on a 10-point scale in 4 categories: hero, villain, supporting roles, and plot. For plot, I considered setting and the production values of cinematography, special effects, visual effects, and score, in addition to storyline. Before I begin my analysis, let me state for the record, I enjoyed all 3 films. Batman is by far my favorite superhero, and I believe Burton, Nolan, and Reeves captured different traits of the character in their brainchildren. I compare with appreciation, not disdain. Furthermore, I ignored the comics and screen series to the extent possible. They created Batman and Gotham City, so they defined the IP decades before the films. However, I attempted to keep an open mind about deviations from the source material. During a debate with my friend Daniel, I decided as best I could to judge the director's interpretations on their own virtues. That said, let's begin. With his dark, quirky style, Tim Burton brought Batman to cinemas in 1989, and audiences loved it. The year's runner-up, Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, collected less than half of Batman's impressive revenue. Adjusted for inflation, Burton's epic grossed over $1 billion. Michael Keaton delivered an aloof yet vulnerable picture of the titular character. The previous year, he headlined Beetlejuice, an unexpected top 10 hit from Burton. Batman was the peak of Keaton's early career, which harnessed his hyperactive stand-up persona for comedies. Despite the acting range he'd shown in prior films such as Gung Ho and Clean and Sober, his funny man typecasting caused skepticism about his ability to portray the Caped Crusader. After Batman's big debut, though he earned grudging compliments, Keaton was overshadowed. But I mustn't get ahead of myself. Keaton's talents favored Bruce Wayne. No one in Gotham would have pegged Wayne for a superhero, because he lacked focus and physicality. He joked about his wealth in self-deprecating ways.
Mr. Wayne, we need to open a few more cases of the champagne. Will that be all right?
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Open, what, 6?
Yeah, 6 is good.
Okay. Yeah. It's great. 6. Thanks. Alfred, they need some more wine in the front room, and someone named Mrs. Daly needs a copy of the menu. Oh, and, give Knox a grant.
Shyness and confidence, intelligence and incognizance, facade and earnestness. His whimsical contradictions endeared him to viewers, and Vicky Vale's arrival drew him into a relationship that humanized him. He was a billionaire industrialist who behaved like an everyman. Through glances, pauses, and other subtle nonverbal clues, Keaton deftly hinted at Wayne's haunted past and alter ego.
My life is really, complex.
His dark side emerged to distract the Joker at Vale's apartment, and his affection for Vale led to additional confrontations with the clown prince of crime. On the other hand, Keaton couldn't convincingly demonstrate fighting prowess. Batman's size and strength demand an actor with, well, size and strength. Keaton's 5'9", 175-pound frame didn't suit the part. Pardon my pun. When Keaton dangled a man over a ledge and lifted the Joker by his lapels, suspension of disbelief was necessary. In lieu of plausible fight choreography, the film used short takes and obvious setups. Unfiltered violence isn't Burton's style. His version of The Dark Knight relied on gear and vehicles, and the costume severely limited Keaton's movements, even if he had been a strapping martial arts expert. Still, Burton and Keaton furnished enough visceral, iconic moments. The backhanded knockout punch, for example. Overall, Batman wasn't Keaton's best performance. but his charisma as Bruce Wayne yielded an entertaining, relatable depiction of the character. An up-and-coming director named Christopher Nolan rebooted Batman in 2005. Although it finished in the year's top 10, Nolan's film earned less than Burton's film a decade and a half later without adjustments for inflation. Nevertheless, the modernity of Batman Begins, regardless of when you first experienced it, then, now, or betwixt, indicates a quality production. Christian Bale's acting talent and physique served both Bruce Wayne and Batman. As Wayne, he balanced his intensity and strength with frivolous behavior, cavorting with two minxes at an exclusive hotel to appear irresponsible, faking intoxication to evacuate Wayne Manor, and claiming ignorance of corporate finance to outfox Richard Earle. But if you were playing Guess Who's Batman with Gotham's socialites, you'd select Christian Bale. Nolan dedicated significant screen time to Thomas Wayne, Wayne Enterprises, and Gotham's degradation. He opened his film with a lost, self-destructive Wayne in search of meaning, the meaning of justice, self-sacrifice, and vigilance. The training scenes with the League of Shadows were excellent. Their flashbacks and foreshadowing developed the main character.
Anger does not change the fact that your father failed to act. A man had a gun. That's up you. Let her train. Training is love. Will.
As Batman, Bale believably overcame physical challenges, fighting, climbing, lifting, falling, etc. His fierceness in defense of Gotham caused collateral damage, which the film ignored. This problem would expand in the sequels. Any other shortcomings? Yes, Bale's self-inflicted croaking as Batman was unintentionally funny at times. One cannot simultaneously whisper and yell.
Where were the other drugs going?
I never knew. I don't know. I swear to God.
Swear to me. I'm counting on it.
He had no chemistry with Katie Holmes as Rachel Dawes. Their relationship was artificial and distracting. His fault? Her fault? Nolan's fault? Or just a poor match? I don't know. Otherwise, Bale was the quintessential Caped Crusader. He fit the comic book illustrations and brought the acting skill of a leading man. No one in the film's accomplished veteran cast outshone him. Batman first appeared in Detective Comics, and to this day he is known as the world's greatest detective. Matt Reeves adopted the Pulp Fiction roots for 2022's The Batman, another top 10 hit. Since 1939, audiences have enjoyed the cowled vigilante's adventures. Few, if any, characters can match that staying power. Like Michael Keaton, Robert Pattinson surprised many people with his performance. Premature appraisals focused on him as the star of Twilight, an awful film series. His slight physique and teen heartthrob status were openly mocked. Only a handful mentioned The Lighthouse and Tenet in his defense. To dismiss him in the role, naysayers willfully overlooked Pattinson's age and experience, 35 when filming and 45 acting credits. Warner Brothers chose March for the premiere because, according to critics, its executives weren't confident in the film. Regardless of predictions, Pattinson succeeded. His emo Bruce Wayne and eye black Batman were strangely compelling. He portrayed an intelligent yet unsophisticated hero in the early stages of crime fighting. More brain than brawn. Batman's equipment and vehicles were prototypes, and he absorbed serious injuries while fighting. As my friend Laura described it, external conflict represented or conveyed internal conflict. The character was relatable for his flaws: single-mindedness, impatience, and anger.
You're out of your goddamn mind. This is all in your head. You're sick, twisted. How could you say that? You think you'll be remembered? You're a pathetic psychopath. Begging for attention.
Unlike his predecessors, he didn't inspire and uplift. Until the end. Against Gotham's underworld, winning felt out of reach, but he reduced the impossible to improbable. The Batman's strength was investigation. I enjoyed his cat and mouse game versus the Riddler, and honestly, without it, the film would have bombed. The subplots, I'll address them later. The Batman's weakness was charisma. Fortunately, Reeves didn't rely on Pattinson to carry the film, and I'm not knocking Pattinson by saying so. He faced a high bar for the opening film of a planned series. In comparison, Reeves offset the screen presence of Keaton and Bale with storyline. Deliberately or incidentally, he wrote a film that accommodated his lead actor. We've finished the first category, Hero. My score for Batman 1989, 9 out of 10. My score for Batman Begins, 10 out of 10. And my score for The Batman, 8 out of 10. Batman Begins leads after the first round. Let's move to the second category, Villain. Tim Burton cast Jack Nicholson as the Joker, and Jack Nicholson turned the Joker into Jack Nicholson. He inevitably overshadowed Keaton, which in the long run benefited the production. Without Nicholson, what would have happened to the film? Few, if any, can match his edgy performances. His career has no equal in terms of award nominations and longevity. The Joker allowed Nicholson to revisit homicidal maniac Jack Torrance at the Overlook Hotel, minus ghosts, axe, and blood. His cocky Jack Napier and his antics as the Joker elevate the film to heights beyond its conception. A pair of Jacks equals a Joker, I guess. What is Nicholson's genius as an actor? I say unpredictability. He transforms a script with its predetermined outcomes into a fluid here and now unfolding of events. His work captures interest and, at key moments, commands attention. A small sample to avoid any imperial entanglements.
You can call me Joker. And as you can see, I'm a lot happier. We'll just shake hands. That'll be it. Yeah? Yeah. Can somebody tell me what kind of a world we live in where a man dressed up as a bat gets all of my press? Uh-oh. You don't look happy. He's been using Brand X. I'm glad you did.
You need only seconds to recall these iconic scenes. Nicholson as Nicholson is a fair criticism. He plays his parts as a shadowy version of himself. Does the Joker in Batman resemble the Joker in DC Comics? In personality, but not in appearance. I won't penalize the directors for their interpretations. And by extension, I won't penalize the actors. Physically, the Joker is a rangy 6'5". Nicholson could not fit the body type. At 51, he was gaining weight and losing hair, so the only choice was reimagining. All the madness and mayhem in a different package. His moods, gadgets, and objectives fit the original concept, and he contributed his own unique brand of wickedness. His design to murder the citizens of Gotham with Smilex was worthy of Batman's arch nemesis. Batman Begins featured two villains, Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul and Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow. Both actors were superb in the film. Murphy's Dr. Crane double-crossed gangster Carmine Falcone to aid Neeson's League of Shadows, but he favored his illegal research to develop control over people through their fears. The fear toxin and burlap mask followed the comics. An opportunity to rule the city never materialized, but one senses betrayal of the League if he perfected his fear-mongering. Murphy's talent for cold, calculating villains. The acquisition of a horse in the Narrows panic was ridiculous. Since the character's namesake is Ichabod Crane, and his garb is loosely based on the Headless Horseman, I will regard the heavy-handedness as artistic license. Neeson's Ra's al Ghul wasn't the best choice of antagonist for an opening film. Nolan skillfully revealed his twist for Act 3, but from Batman's rogues gallery, I believe a more dynamic, less global threat would have yielded a better result. Ra's al Ghul is a next-level baddie who shakes the foundation of an existing mythos. He is not a Tier 1 evildoer who establishes a mythos. His abilities and goals are too advanced for the first chapter of a Gotham City narrative. However, Nolan and Neeson handled him with cleverness and sophistication. Neeson looked great with a horseshoe mustache and goatee, and wholly embraced his international supervillain persona. I appreciated his tutelage of Wayne and Wayne's betrayal in Act 1. When they reunite, Wayne has become Batman, the biggest obstacle to Ra's al Ghul's evil plan. The weakness perceived in Wayne was the virtue that saved Gotham. The Batman featured three villains, Paul Dano as the Riddler, Colin Farrell as the Penguin, and John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. Did the 3-hour production develop its 3 malefactors? The answer from my perspective is no. But Reeves didn't intend to completely develop any villain. He told his story from Batman's POV, which left audiences in the dark about many facets of the perpetrators. This decision increased the suspense, good for a mystery, particularly with Reeves' take on the Riddler. The film's sacrifice for its subterfuge was a fully realized antagonist, like the Joker or the Scarecrow. I wanted more of the Riddler and more of the Penguin. The new streaming series has provided the latter. But at the time, I felt the movie needed a miscreant on screen with greater frequency for depth and engagement. The Riddler challenged and outfoxed Batman. He didn't accomplish his ultimate goal because Gotham survived. One has mixed feelings about Dano's character. He acted as judge, jury, and executioner for dishonest power brokers in the city. Did the punishments fit the crimes? No, he clearly went off the deep end. His frustration with corruption, including lack of trust in the police and the judicial system, fueled his sadism. He could have assisted Batman with his investigative aptitude, but he walked the path of evil. As a viewer, I hardly knew him. Did you relate to his exasperation with Gotham's sweeping degeneracy? The Penguin was a second-tier gangster with ambition to run Gotham's underworld. If nothing else, Farrell entertained me. I didn't love this Penguin as the Penguin. Rather, I enjoyed this character as a novel creation. The streaming series has greatly improved him in my eyes. I didn't expect a tuxedo, cigarette holder, top hat, and monocle. I didn't expect a sewer-dwelling circus performer with physical deformities. And I didn't expect an obese Italian mobster with facial scars. What can be said about Carmine Falcone? Good actor, standard fare. We've finished the second category, villain. My score for Nicholson's The Joker, 9 out of 10. My score for Neeson's Ra's al Ghul and Murphy's The Scarecrow, 8 out of 10. And my score for Dano's The Riddler, Farrell's The Penguin, and Turturro's Carmine Falcone, 7 out of 10. After 2 rounds, Batman and Batman Begins are tied, both with 18 out of 20. And The Batman trails by 3 with 15 out of 20. Forward to the third category, supporting roles. Burton's Batman introduced Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale and Michael Gough as Alfred Pennyworth. Honorable mentions: Billy D. Williams, Pat Hingle, Jack Palance, Robert Wall, Tracy Walter, and William Hootkins. From the preceding list, only Basinger had significant screen time. The headliners, Keaton and Nicholson, dominated the script. Vicky Vale, photojournalist, fell too quickly and too deeply for Bruce Wayne. She slept with him after 1 date. Yes, 1 date. Her investigation of Batman led her to Wayne, and her beauty exposed her to the Joker. For the record, 9.5 weeks, Kim Basinger is always welcome as a love interest. However, her character was one-dimensional. I can't believe I'm about to say this, she lacked agency. Alfred portrayed Wayne's personal assistant and moral compass, his traditional functions at Wayne Manor. Gough performed well, though nothing special was asked of him. The bit players were excellent. Eckhart, Grissom, Dent, Knox, Bob, these characters actualized Gotham. Despite their small scope, collectively, they made a positive impact on the film.
Why, Eckhart, you ought to think about the future. You mean when you run the show, you ain't got no future, Jack?
Batman Begins had the best supporting cast. Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, Rutger Hauer, Katie Holmes, Gary Oldman, and Tom Wilkinson. The other 2 films can't match Nolan's assemblage of talent. The writer-director utilized all his characters. Caine as Alfred was Wayne's confidant. Freeman as Fox was Wayne's designer. Holmes as Dawes was Batman's prosecutor. Oldman as Gordon was Batman's partner. Great actors with great regisseur. Simple. My favorite was Fox. The sly smiles and chuckles exchanged between the 2 men who knew the game, but protected each other through plausible deniability. Alfred was second only to Fox. Caine rivals Nicholson in terms of awards and longevity. His work always captivates. As groundskeeper, news gatherer, nurse, and equipment manager, Alfred was an active participant in Batman's success. His relationships with Thomas and Martha and his life experience allowed him to refocus Bruce at crucial times. Pep talks were his speciality. He recognized Wayne's self-destructiveness due to guilt for his parents' murders.
Why do we fall so that we can learn to pick ourselves up?
The Batman starred Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle, Andy Serkis as Alfred, and Jeffrey Wright as Lieutenant Gordon. Reeves took the time to develop his supporting characters. Perhaps he conceived his story for a small cast, or perhaps his budget limited him to a small cast. Either way, I somewhat disparaged his villains for insufficient elaboration, but his heroes were well known to audiences by film's end. Kravitz's Catwoman drove the narrative in many ways. Her arc of revenge paralleled Batman's arc of justice. She wanted to fight against exploitation, but until she met Batman, she didn't have the means to stop Gotham's crime bosses. Serkis was the most assertive of Alfred's on-screen depictions. He argued and scolded Wayne when he perceived the younger man making mistakes and going against his family's values. Legacy was obviously important to Alfred. Wright's Gordon freely involved Batman as an investigator, much to the chagrin of his law enforcement colleagues. I was surprised to see Batman at the crime scenes. The comics showed similar events, but through 2 prior films, Batman hadn't been welcome around the police in any capacity.
Hey! What's the matter with you? This isn't the way to do this. You two now? Let me handle this, Chief. Just give me a minute.
You're gonna put yourself on the line for this scumbag, Jim?
Just give me a minute. I'll get him to cooperate.
We've finished the third category, supporting roles. My score for Basinger, Goff, and honorable mentions in Batman, 8 out of 10. My score for Kane, Freeman, Oldman, et alia in Batman Begins, 10 out of 10. And my score for Kravitz, Serkis, and Wright in The Batman, 8 out of 10. After 3 rounds, from a total of 30, Batman Begins leads with 28. Batman is second with 26, and The Batman is third with 23. Let's get to the final category, plot, which includes setting, cinematography, special effects, visual effects, and score. I've already touched on key elements of Batman's plot, but I'll provide a full summary now. Carl Grissom, Gotham's organized crime boss, learns his girlfriend is sleeping with his sadistic right-hand man, Jack Napier. He orders Napier to handle a job at a chemical factory. Then he tips off the police about the job through a crooked detective. Rumors of a crime-fighting Batman have reached the press. Vicky Vale, a renowned photojournalist, travels to Gotham in search of the true story. She meets Bruce Wayne during a charity event at Wayne Manor. The police and Batman trap Napier in the chemical factory. During a physical altercation with Batman, Napier falls into a vat of toxic waste, which disfigures and unhinges him. He reemerges as the Joker, kills Grissom, takes over the criminal underworld, and plans to dispatch Gotham's citizens with poison. Bruce Wayne and Vicky Vale develop a romantic relationship, but the Joker sees Vale and covets her beauty. Vale investigates the murder of Wayne's parents, at the hand of Jack Napier, it turns out, and she ascertains Batman's secret identity. On the same night he unleashes his poison gas, the Joker kidnaps Vale. Batman thwarts the Joker by disposing of his gas and saving Vale in Gotham Cathedral. The Joker prepares to escape by helicopter, but Batman uses a grappling line to cause the villain's death, a fatal plummet from the spire. The plot unfolded like a comic book. Burton executed it with a style reminiscent of the campy 1960s TV series, though he darkened it for murder and mayhem. I maintain the plot was secondary to the characters, Bruce Wayne/Batman and the Joker. Burton relied on Keaton and Nicholson to work their magic. Gotham reflected the director's film noir taste, from dreary stone facades to dank dark alleys to a gothic cathedral. The costumes fit the setting. Bland suits, fedoras, leather jackets, dresses, and overcoats, with eye-catching splashes of color like the Joker's outfits and Batman's chest logo. Burton occasionally exploited odd angles and framing to emphasize speed, height, and distance. As I said before, he used quick cuts and setups for the fights. His lighting, particularly in night scenes, was indirect, so he could take advantage of shadows. So many shadows in this film. Overall, the cinematography was interesting. Burton has a distinct method that aligns with Batman. The practical sets, special effects, and makeup were excellent with 3 exceptions. the Joker's face, the Batwing, and Batman's suit, which was restricting and rubbery. The city models weren't created for convincing pan shots. They contributed to Burton's pseudo-realism. A few of the matte paintings clashed with their foregrounds. Danny Elfman wrote a superb score. The main theme is a classic. And Prince contributed songs. Bruce Wayne travels the world in search of his life's meaning. After his parents were killed, he rejected his father's vision for Gotham City. At a prison camp in China, a man named Ducard recruits Wayne for the League of Shadows. Ducard trains Wayne until Wayne masters the martial arts. Ra's al Ghul reveals the League's intent to destroy Gotham. Wayne causes the death of Ra's al Ghul. He rescues Ducard unconscious and leaves him in the care of nearby villagers. When he returns to Gotham, Wayne creates Batman to save the city. His father's corporation is led by a greedy, unscrupulous CEO named Richard Earl, and organized crime is everywhere. With help from his childhood friend Rachel Dawes, assistant DA, and honest police sergeant James Gordon, a loyal R&D executive Lucius Fox, and, of course, his butler, Alfred Pennyworth, Wayne attempts to restore order. The League of Shadows still exists because Ducard is the real Ra's al Ghul. He suddenly appears to kill Wayne and thereby remove the only threat, Batman. The League steals a giant microwave generator, and Dr. Crane, a psychiatrist for Arkham Asylum, poisons Gotham's water supply with a fear toxin. Using the generator, the League can vaporize the toxin to drive the inhabitants of Gotham mad with terror. Ra's al Ghul and Crane, aka the Scarecrow, begin the process in the Narrows, where Arkham is located. The police isolate the Narrows, and Batman arrives. He exposes Crane to his own fear toxin and wrecks a train with Ra's al Ghul and the generator. In the epilogue, Wayne outmaneuvers Earl during an IPO and retakes governance of Wayne Enterprises. The plot of Batman Begins ranged from brilliant to stupid. Wayne's training and near indoctrination to the League of Shadows carefully set the stage for Act 3. It foreshadowed the final battle and Batman's role in it. The villain created the hero, and the hero overcame his fear to prove himself and his cause. All good. The elaborateness of Ra's al Ghul's microwave vaporizer plan was ridiculous. Based on Act 2, the League had infiltrated Gotham to the highest and lowest levels. It controlled elected offices, law enforcement, and organized crime in the city. The microwave toxin was overkill. At the beginning, Nolan showed a futuristic Gotham with an elevated train that conveyed progress. When the lost sun returned, the metropolis had fallen to corruption. Its streets, alleys, and bridges exhibited dilapidation. In the Narrows, I think Nolan went too far with his shanties. The cinematography, costumes, and sets were fine, nothing special. Burton was stylized, Nolan was functional. I enjoyed Wayne's visits to the science department. Fox's equipment with military and engineering applications sold me on the plausibility of Batman. Nolan overused CGI in the Batcave and the city, but I ask, should I penalize the film for its time period, when visual effects seem destined to replace special effects? Looking back, we understand a balance is necessary. To his credit, Nolan never pushed technology to replace models, sets, and extras. His car chase recalled the Dukes of Hazzard, and his foggy, disorienting romp through the Narrows reminded me of a bad horror flick. Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard, two respected composers, wrote the score. It was fine, not memorable, but not bothersome. It did its job but left no lasting impression. The worst thing about Batman Begins is its pace. Nolan isn't a concise storyteller. He needed 3+ hours to achieve his vision. At 140 minutes, everything in Batman Begins feels slightly rushed. The film's best element is its exposition for Bruce Wayne. Rather than depend on patrons' existing knowledge of the hero, it explained Wayne's inner turmoil, then followed him turning his phobia into his strength and becoming Batman. I'll do my best to summarize The Batman. Its plot is complicated. Bruce Wayne has been operating as Batman for 2 years. His nocturnal existence is causing him to lose touch with Wayne Enterprises, and perhaps his better nature. Vengeance is a theme. The Riddler targets corrupt officials with a killing spree, and he leaves gimmicky clues designed for Batman. An early hint points to a nightclub run by Oz, aka the Penguin, one of Carmine Falcone's men, where Batman encounters a cocktail waitress, Selina Kyle, who is secretly Catwoman. He discovers she is seeking revenge against her father, Falcone, who killed her mother without realizing he had an illegitimate daughter. Batman and Catwoman form an uneasy alliance to bring down Falcone. Along the way, a police lieutenant, James Gordon, supports Batman to stop the Riddler and Falcone. Prior to the film's present, Falcone tricked city officials by betraying a rival who manufactured and distributed drops, or drugs, in Gotham. His facilitation of a major bust with him as the informant turned the city's officials into his pawns. He encouraged them to act on his tips in selfish ways to further their careers. Then he manipulated them based on what they selectively chose to hide from the public. Through an urban renewal fund created by Wayne's father, Thomas, Falcone insisted on bribes to deepen their complicity and guarantee their cooperation. An orphan whose childhood was ruined by neglect due to the fund's diversion became the Riddler. His personal grudges touched the Wayne family since, decades before, Wayne's father went to Falcone in hopes of preventing a news article about Wayne's mother. She had serious mental problems, and a reporter planned to publish a story about her. Falcone killed the reporter, but Thomas refused to be a pawn. Falcone might have ordered his death as a result. Circumstances surrounding the Wayne murders were unclear. The convenience of Falcone subsequently redistributing the Wayne's renewal fund increased guilt by association in the Riddler's mind. Back to the present. Alfred is seriously injured by a bomb intended for Wayne. Batman, Catwoman, and Gordon gather enough evidence to arrest Falcone, but they unwittingly lead the Kingpin into an assassination by the Riddler. Batman learns the Riddler was an accountant who tracked the renewal fund to the dirty officials and Falcone. The Riddler surprises everyone by surrendering, but his capture is a twisted overture. He assumes Batman wants vengeance and offers to work with the Caped Crusader after the flood. What flood, you ask? The Riddler takes down the seawall that blocks the bordering rivers and ocean. Unfortunately, Batman missed the Riddler's final clue. Gotham Square Garden is a rally point until the Riddler's online followers begin random shootings there. Batman, Catwoman, and Gordon restore order and lead the survivors to safety. In the end, corruption has been exposed. The city's leaders will change. Physical restoration or renewal must be undertaken, and Batman understands protection, not vengeance, is his true calling. Reeves teases the Joker for a sequel. The Batman was a viewing commitment. Unlike Batman Begins, which needed 3 hours, the Batman could have easily run 2 hours and 15 minutes without losing any of its plot. I relished the battle of wits between the Riddler and Batman. The detective story was entertaining, but the subplots, including the flood, contributed little to the story's outcome. Not filler because I don't sense incompetence or malice. Indulgent or prolonged are better descriptors. If Reeves focused on the Riddler leading Batman to Falcone, the film would have been much improved in terms of pace and impact. Length was its chief shortcoming. The costume sets, cinematography, and score fostered a hopelessness in Gotham, like Burton turned up to 11. No splashes of color, overcast days, rainy nights, fog, graffiti, rust, trash, crime. Nirvana's Something in the Way made manifest. Michael Giacchino incorporated bells, drums, and horns for a melancholy yet inspiring theme. I was both repulsed and attracted. The pull caused one to consider wandering Gotham's streets and alleys as a test of fortitude. Can you stand against an evil so pervasive that it can twist an environment to underpin itself? More shadows than Burton's Batman. Too dark in many scenes, but all around very well done. The film's special and visual effects were adequate, though obscured. 3 notable exceptions. The base jump from Gotham PD and the fight atop the Jumbotron were CGI messes. Catwoman couldn't knock out men twice her size with single kicks and punches. Reeves' Batman presented contradictions. He had cutting-edge digital tech, but he drove a muscle car from the 1970s. He had bulletproof armor, smoke grenades, grappling lines, and advanced optical gear, but he brawled hand-to-hand when he could have surprised and subdued opponents. Scrutiny exposes some moments as dumb, yet the setting, themes, and complexity linger in my memory. Scores for the fourth and final category, plot. Batman 1989, 9 out of 10. Batman Begins, 8 out of 10. And The Batman, 10 out of 10. Final scores for each of the opening Batman films, from a possible total of 40. Tim Burton's Batman, 35. Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, 36. And Matt Reeves' The Batman, 33. So, I recommend all three. You won't be disappointed. According to my analysis, Batman Begins is the Caped Crusaders, or The Greatest Detectives, or The Dark Knight's best opening film, by a nose. Thank you for watching. I've shared my perspective. What is your perspective? Which film is superior? Let me know with a comment. Please like and subscribe. Check out Galactic Initiative for all things Star Wars, and a growing number of other IP, such as Batman, Beetlejuice, and Stranger Things.